Hi, and welcome to Zebra Not Horse. I have got another awesome episode with another autistic. Today I have my friend Amanda joining me. So, Amanda, would you like to introduce yourself?
Sure. My name is Amanda. I am 38. I was late diagnosed autistic at literally my 36 and a half birthday. So just a little over a year and a half now of knowing this about myself. I live in the US. I live in Mississippi. I've spent some time in Florida. Also, I lived in Florida for 7 years, but I've been in Mississippi since 2020. I'm a mom to three boys and we homeschool. We also have four rescue dogs. So my house is like a circus, like on the regular. I make jokes that my dogs are like toddlers. So it's like I'm running like a daycare with
Oh,
these dogs. Let's see. I love to read and write books. I'm a published author and I'm working on another book now. And let's see, some of my current special interests. This one's gotten a little challenging recently. Taylor Swift has always been one of my like special interests, but like now that she's not touring and she, the Eras tour is over, it's a little more challenging to follow her because she's living her life and not so in the public eye right now. But yeah, I love her. Also, I follow American politics really closely, kind of obsessed with that right now. And I'm also really working on like my daily routine and like focusing on taking care of my body. So that's kind of a special interest for me right now too.
oh,
So that's a little
I
about
love
me.
that. That's really cool. So many interesting things. And I'm learning new stuff about you too, which is quite cool because we are friends and we've been friends, I don't know, maybe like it'll be 2 years in September,
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, cool. So my icebreaker question for you, this is a question that I was posed at youth group once, and I just thought it was such a cool question. So I'm really excited to be able to use it. If you could have a liquid that could pour from your index finger whenever you wanted for the rest of your life, what liquid would you choose?
This is a really weird question because sensory wise, I would never choose like ever. Um, and then like thinking through like, should I have a fun drink like a mimosa or like a margarita? Like that'd be nice to have on tap. Or should I have something like salsa? Like does salsa count as a liquid? So you like always have a snack. Um, but I guess my actual answer is basic and probably just water because I drink a lot of water and I mix water into like powders and make teas and things
Yeah.
like that. So like it would be nice to like have water. It also make watering the plants really easy.
Yeah, I think water is such a cool answer because yeah, like whenever you're a little bit thirsty, you've always got it. So
You got it. Yeah.
great answer. Okay, number one, can you share your experience of receiving your autism diagnosis and how did it make you feel?
Yes. So to start with, one of my little nieces is autistic and she's been diagnosed since she was probably like two. My sister, so this is her third child. So she had two, well, a neurotypical, and then my other niece has been diagnosed ADHD, but at the time she wasn't. So what she thought was two neurotypical kiddos, and then a kid that she knew was different than the other two. So my niece was, tested and diagnosed very early on in her life, and I have always kind of jokingly said things like, like if I would do something silly or what I know now are my autistic traits, when things would like come out in conversations or like I would do or say something, I would kind of brush it off and I'm like, ha ha ha, the autism comes from somewhere, like but I know I was always joking. I was truly always like just being like trying to brush off me being
Yeah.
quirky, right? So I happened to be in therapy with my husband, and I was sharing with our therapist some it's like sensory issues that I have and like the different ways that my husband's brain processes information and the way that my brain processes information. He is not diagnosed, but I believe he fits the criteria for ADHD to the point that his name is JD and we call it JDHD because it's just funny. but his brain is like running 90 miles an hour all of the time. He's constantly trying to solve problems. He's constantly just like going, going, going. Like this morning, he woke up at 4 in the morning because his brain just clicked on and he started working. And so he got up and like started his day. And that's not how my brain works at all. I know that there is like co-occurring like autism and ADHD in a lot of people, but I think that I'm like pretty solidly on the autism side because my I definitely have like delayed processing issues. It can take me days to solve a problem sometimes, or to work myself up to having a conversation with somebody. And so I was sharing some of those struggles with our therapist, and she just asked me, like, Amanda, are you a highly sensitive person? And I was like, oh, I don't know. I mean, I guess I'm sensitive. I don't know. And she's like, okay, I'm going to send you a quiz. And so I took the quiz, and I think that quiz is out of like 25 points or something. And if you score more than like 12 or 13, then you could be, like a highly sensitive person. I scored like 22, like
Whoa.
up there. So I sent that to the therapist, and she was like, yeah, that's pretty high up there. And then so like I kind of immediately fell down a rabbit hole, because if you Google like highly sensitive person, like the next suggested word is like autism. So then I took other quizzes that I could find online, like the AQ and like the RADS quiz. And just kept scoring like well within the range for autism. And I kind of remember like that night, I had work stuff that I needed to do, but we got out of our therapy appointment, and I was already like, I was deep diving into this rabbit hole. And my husband was like, Amanda, you know that you have some things that you said you needed to do. Like, why don't you do this for like 15 minutes? And then it's time to like transition into getting the things done that you need to get done. Spoiler alert, I didn't do those
No.
things that night. I kind of got stuck like researching, and then I asked my husband to take the same quizzes that I took, and then I asked my sister with my autistic niece to take the same quizzes that I took, and they both scored. My husband scored like completely like really really low on in the ranges, and my sister scored higher than him but still lower than me, and still like within the like typical range. But that just kind of led me to just ask more questions about myself, and eventually led me to, I mean, not eventually, pretty rapidly led me to pursuing a professional diagnosis. That was really difficult for me to be able to find, because I needed to find a psychiatrist who, number one, would take my health insurance, and then number two, tested adults. That
Yeah.
was really difficult. Everywhere that I called, they would say like, oh yeah, we do, free testing, but it's for kids 7 and under. Okay, well, at the time I was 36, like I'm not 7. So,
Yeah.
um, I did finally find somebody that would do my diagnosis, and I took him literally 8 pages of notes that I'd been collecting in a Google document. Like I kind of took like the DSM criteria and like tore it apart, and then like added all of my experiences that like go under each section. And I had several weeks to kind of prepare before I went to that appointment. So I was able to like think through my past experiences to add to that document, but also like write down current things that happen too, where I'm like, oh, okay, I understand why I feel this way, or I understand why this thing is difficult or challenging. Like, let me write that down. So he was kind of shocked when I produced this document. And he asked me like, why was I pursuing a diagnosis at my age? And I think that that's a question that gets asked quite often of, late diagnosed autistic people is, well, you've made it this far in life. Why do you need a diagnosis now? And I'm firmly in the camp that the more information that we have about ourselves, the better. We can better care for ourselves. I just think that's so important. So like if there's something about my body and mind and spirit that has a name that I need to know, that it just helps inform me and help me take better care of myself, and also helps people around me understand me a little bit better, and hopefully give me a little bit more grace
Yeah.
when I'm having a difficult moment. So my diagnosis, it was important to me.
Yeah, I totally relate to that. And I feel like if you had something physical in your body that you were living with unaware for a long time, you would still want to know that, because then there's consequences to finding that out. It might be affected by diet or exercise or anything. And, we knowing that we're autistic helps us to put those accommodations in place that we've missed out on our whole life because we just didn't know.
Yes.
So, yeah. Number two, how has having a diagnosis changed your understanding of yourself? You've kind of just tapped into this, but like now that you've lived with your diagnosis for a little while, how has that kind of changed?
Oh, like that question literally gives me goosebumps because it has helped me so much. Like just being able to give myself grace and stop pushing myself. Like I am very much so like a type A type of person. I like a good to-do list. Like if I can write things down and pull it out of my brain and put it on paper, now it feels like I can actually get it done. But I will like push myself into exhaustion and push myself into a shutdown or meltdown situation because I don't give myself, but like before I wouldn't give myself like space to rest, or like would kind of like have negative self-talk about like needing to decompress after spending time with people, especially like difficult people that I have to mask a lot around. Like, and that's been something that has been really illuminating to me too, is like how
Mm.
truly exhausting it is to be in experiences with people that I have to mask with versus people that I can just truly be myself with. Like
Yeah.
that's a much less exhausting interaction than it is when I have to be very, very aware of everything about myself, about my body, about my eyes, about my tone, about my face, about everything. So it's just really helped me be able to have more compassion for myself, give myself more grace, give myself more time, and know that needing any of those accommodations are not that's not a bad thing, and that doesn't make me lazy or any of the kind of things that I used to tell myself beforehand. Like these are just steps that I need to build into my days in order for me to be able to function
Yeah.
to my best ability. So
Love that. It's so good to just know yourself and just to love
yes,
yourself and just be like, it's okay. This is what I need.
okay, this is what I need. Yes.
So, as autistic people, we are very aware of what we like, and we're extremely aware of what we don't like. And I think more than sort of general neurotypical people, because they don't really think about it, but we think about it a lot. Like if we eat something that we really don't like, it's a horrible sensation for us. So, what are some of the things that you really dislike? Give me like your top five.
Yeah. So speaking of things to eat, that's like inconsistent foods is one of my things that I dislike a lot. Like and I see this in my children too. Like we all really like consistency in the things that we put in our mouths, like textures, drinks. So like this is kind of crazy because I have backyard chickens who like make eggs for us every day, but eggs are on this list because like eggs are inconsistent. It like I can cook them inconsistently from day to day. I can follow the same recipe or whatever and cook them for the same amount of time, and they're still different than they were yesterday. So like I can literally get like the egg ick in the middle of eating. Like I'll put it in my mouth and I'm like, well, I'm done with that. I can't eat that anymore. So that's number one, or I guess at the top of the list is like inconsistent foods. I hate that. Also, like in terms of inconsistent foods, do you guys have like potluck meals? Do you know what that is?
Yeah, they're not as popular
Yeah,
anymore, but yeah,
yeah. I feel like COVID kind of
yeah,
ruined that type of like interaction, but just where like everybody kind of brings a dish, that type of situation is like, I don't want to do that. I'm gonna eat before I go to that because I don't trust any of this food.
yeah. So true.
No. All right, let's see. Another one is when things I really dislike are when people are not direct with me and kind of like beat around the bush or like talk around something or like have expectations for me that are not clearly, like, I don't clearly understand them, because if I don't understand, it's not going to happen. Like, you're not going to get what you want out of me because I I don't understand. I don't know what it is that you want or that you're seeking from me. So it's very helpful when I can have a conversation with somebody and it's just very like to the point. And like, if you're needing something from me, we discuss like what exactly it is, what's the deadline associated with it, because I can get it
Yeah.
done. I just need to understand, you know, if it's nebulous and just kind of floating out there in space, best of luck. It's not gonna happen. Oh, this is one that you'll probably think is funny. A thing that I really dislike is rules that I think are stupid.
Some are.
I Yeah, I am generally a pretty chronic rule follower. I think that rules are important and that we should follow them, until I don't understand the reason behind a rule, or don't understand, like, or just think in general that the rule is dumb. Then there's no chance that I'm following it, because I've kind of already like dismissed that. Like, that's not a thing. These two things kind of go together because they're like touch and sensory related. But like certain textures, like microfiber towels, no, ooh, like makes my teeth hurt. Like, I can't. And then, like I said, in the same like vein, something that can really be like upsetting that I dislike is like things in my field of vision that I don't like.
Mhm.
Like, for example, when I was a kid, it was dirty socks. Like, if I would be sitting in a room and like one of my siblings had taken off a pair of socks and just like left them on the floor in the living room, I can't function. Like, I couldn't get up and do anything about it. But also, like, I couldn't continue doing what I was doing, because even if I'm like looking in another place, like in my peripheral vision, I can still see that upsetting thing. And I can't. I see that you're having a
Yeah,
similar reaction.
just hearing it makes me squirm.
No, no, I need, like, my environment is very important. The space that I exist in is very important. And as an adult, I can fix things that are upsetting in my environment sometimes, not always. Sometimes I still get stuck in that same, like, "Ugh, I don't like that and I can't do anything about it."
Yeah.
But for the most part, I can do something about it now as an adult. But yeah, upsetting things in my
Yeah.
peripheral direct vision that's upsetting.
And it's that kind of nothing else works, nothing else matters. Like you're stuck because you're like, this is all consuming my brain. I
Yes,
can't move
you're
past
stuck.
this. Yeah. The thing that you said that I most relate to is the fiber. What's it called? The cloth.
Microfiber.
Yeah. So my husband is obsessed with cars and he washes the cars quite a lot and he
Oh
uses
no.
all of these cloths and then he puts them in the washing machine and then I take them out and hang them up to dry and I'm like, this is horrible. I
Yes,
just always say he has to do it and then he just forgets and I have to do it. It's horrible. So, yeah.
it
I really
really is.
and he says
Yes,
they're the best kind of cloths for cleaning the car and I'm like, I don't know why that is the truth, but it's so annoying.
yes, honestly, like, when I don't like to like buy blankets or sheets or anything unless I can like feel them in the
Yeah.
store. Because I'm very specific about what touches my body and like what feels good on my body. And I will touch things when I'm like out and about, but like I will have like an immediate visceral reaction if something doesn't feel good. Like, I'll touch it and I'm like, ooh, why
Nope.
did I do that?
And it takes a minute for your brain to be like, I don't know why I don't like it, but I know I don't like it.
I don't. Yep, I don't like it.
Yeah. So when you introduced yourself, you said that you are an author, but that's not your main job, is it? Can you tell us what your job is, and did you change your career to accommodate your autism?
Yes. So I work in real estate. I'm a realtor. I didn't change my job to accommodate that. I kind of actually fell into doing real estate. I was a teacher before COVID happened. I taught English at the high school level. And then when COVID ruined everything and we moved home to Mississippi, we wanted to homeschool our boys. So that kind of gave us the opportunity. We had always wanted to homeschool them, but hadn't had the opportunity yet. So that like period of life kind of gave us that opportunity to try. And so I was just doing like some like tutoring stuff on the side, and started working with this lady and her daughter, helping her get ready for like college prep tests. And she was a real estate agent. And so we became friends. And then she was looking for like a graphic design person, like just somebody who could do like some marketing stuff, like 10 hours a week, from home virtually. And I was like, yeah, sure, I can do that. I mean, for my book, like I did all of the graphic work that's inside of it. I designed everything from front to back, all of it. So I was like, yeah, I can definitely do that. And then that kind of led into her looking to hire another real estate agent for her team. And I kind of told her like, this, I think I would be good at this. Like this seems like a great fit. And she was like, well, get your license. So I did.
You got your license.
Yes, yes. So I got my license in 22, a little about a year before I got my autism diagnosis. So I jumped into this new career. There were some things that I really liked about it, and some things that literally landed me in therapy over it because I was having a really hard time with it. Real estate transactions, one of the things that's really good for the way that my brain works is that when you're working in a contract, it's very black and white. It's very like, if there is a question, the answer is in the contract. Let's go back to the contract and see what the contract says. That works really, really great with my type of literal thinking. But also, real estate is a very emotional career because you kind of wind up being in the position of like other people's therapist. And you're the one who's like, sometimes you have to deliver bad news. Sometimes you get to deliver great news, and that's fun. But like sometimes contracts fail and things fall apart, and you have to be the one that says those things out loud. So, I mean, I have definitely been in situations where like I'm so worked up, I can't eat, I can't sleep, like I'm having a hard time talking. Because I definitely get to that point, like in an emotional state where like my verbal ability just kind of shuts down a little bit. So that was really, really hard for me to like learn, how to like navigate and work through. And so I did a little bit of therapy around that and a little bit of wellness coaching around that, and worked on like setting boundaries and really working on trying to like separate my own like empathy from my clients, because this is a professional job for me.
Yeah.
And it's not my emotional, thing that's happening to me.
Yeah.
But it feels that way. It has always felt that way, that it's like this big thing that's happening to my client is happening to me. That's how my body has interpreted it. So that has been probably like the most challenging part of working in real estate, is working with people. And I'll be honest with you, I'm not sure that I'm going to do it for forever because of that. I mean, it's exhausting. It's very stressful. And like I said, like I can have reactions to things that happen that take me a really long time to be able to like come down from. And I mean, I've had to have like my notebook if I have to like have a difficult conversation with somebody. Like I will literally sit and like script out my conversation before I have it, so that I've kind of like thought through it and I know what I'm going to say and how I'm going to say it. And something else I've done to kind of accommodate myself is in my presentations that I use with my sellers and buyers, I've put a document in there that's titled communication preferences. And I kind of explained like what my work hours are, and that I prefer to communicate in writing. So like text messages or emails are always going to be better for me than on the phone. I struggle on the phone anyways. And for the most part, I would say maybe 4 out of 5 people, will accommodate me in that way. Occasionally, I get that client who calls me 18 times a day, and I'm just like screening my calls because I'm like, nothing is on fire.
Wow.
Why are you calling me this many times? But for the most part, people are very, considerate of what I ask for. That's what I found, is if you ask for it, people are, willing to kind of meet you where you are. If you don't ask for it, then they don't know,
Yeah.
and it kind of goes back to that, like, direct and indirect conversation we were talking about earlier. Some of that is on us also, even if I can't necessarily say that thing out loud, like I can write things that I can't say.
Yeah.
And that sounds silly. And I think probably to a neurotypical, they're like, well, that's just ridiculous. You should be able to say whatever it is you need to say. There are some things that I just physically cannot bring myself to produce as a sound.
Yeah. I love that you've got that in your kind of contract. That's so validating to you that you've spoke up for yourself and, like you give yourself permission to say, this is what I need and this is how I am. This is the way I communicate. I love that. I have a risk assessment at work and I go into different settings and work with different people all the time. And some places that I work, they're really accommodating. They're really like tune into what my specific accommodations are. And in other places, you just feel, yeah. So yeah, it's great that you have that in place at work, and there are things that it's just made your career a bit easier. And whatever your career is in the future, yeah, you can always have those things that you can put in place because you now know you're autistic.
Yes.
Yeah. So my last question for you is: has imposter syndrome played a role in your life? Um, Perhaps like when you were first diagnosed or before you were diagnosed, and how is it now for you living as an autistic person?
I, initially my knee-jerk reaction is no, but when I think about it a little bit deeper, I do think there has been some imposter syndrome. I am very good at putting myself in clearly defined roles inside of whatever it is that I'm doing. Like, for example, I said that one of my special interests is American politics.
Mm.
I've actually run for an office before. I've been a candidate. Um, because like I wanted to be part of this party, but at the beginning I was kind of struggling to figure out like how do I fit in this meeting? Like I don't have a role, I don't have something to do. What can I do? And like candidate was something that just kind of like, you know, fell in my lap.
Yeah.
And but that it, like I said, it has clearly defined roles. I knew what the expectation was. I knew what, what people were expecting of me up until a certain point. And sometimes I feel like when I get myself into those clearly defined roles, I can feel like I'm kind of like playing a character and
Mm.
not really myself, like I'm being what other people expect me to be inside of that role. And I know that that kind of sounds like a catch 22, that like I put myself in that situation, but then I'm like playing a role in that situation. But I think it's just because if I know what people expect out of a particular job or position or whatever, then I can do that. I can
Mm.
play that part. But some of me wonders like how much of that has been my mask over the years that I didn't know, that I wasn't aware of, where I just kind of like will get myself into a role or a situation or whatever, and I can kind of like put my suit on and zip myself up
Mm.
and play this part, but then I'm exhausted and don't understand why, and I want to sleep for a week after a social engagement where I was just having to monitor everything about me. So like when I was initially considering whether or not I was autistic and like seeking out my diagnosis, I wouldn't say that I felt like imposter syndrome there at all, because like once I kind of did that deep dive into like traits and the DSM and looking at my own past and my own experiences, I was like, this literally like fits, like this explains so much. Like one of the ways that I've put this in the past is that my diagnosis was like an answer to a question that I never
Mm.
knew that I was asking.
Yeah.
I didn't have the language for it. I didn't know why all of these things feel uncomfortable, why I can't do certain things, why certain things are exhausting. But I knew that they were,
Yeah.
I just didn't have the language to like figure out why. So imposter syndrome around that, around having, this label of an autistic person, I would say no, because it's just it is what it is. Like it's just a language that's attached to traits and experiences that I have. I will say though that I'm still pretty cautious in my life about who I share my diagnosis with, especially in the political climate in America right now. Because I just I hope that people that are in my life on a regular basis would not change the way that they think about me or anything like that. But I also find it hard to trust everybody with that information.
It is a scary place to be in America and to verbally say that you're autistic. It's quite an interesting way the world has gone currently.
Yes, it's really scary. I mean, thinking about like politicians being able to like use our medical
Mm.
information, our medical data. But I have been, I've wondered about my children because I do see similar traits kind of
Okay.
across the board with all three of my children. Um, but in this moment, like I can't bring myself to have them tested for anything.
Yeah.
I just want to keep them at home in our safe little bubble and homeschool,
Yeah.
and that's that. We just are who we are.
And yeah, we just have to seek out other autistic voices to know what wisdom we need to, yeah, whether we disclose or not, and whether we get our children diagnosed or not. And yeah, it's just, yeah, really sad.
Yes, it is. And it's such a strange time too. In a time when we have so much access to so much information,
Yeah.
like one of the things that I spent a lot of time thinking about when I was when I was considered myself to be self-diagnosed at this point, was looking back on my experience with my parents and why my parents didn't think anything about who I was as a child. And I think so much of it is just in that they just didn't know.
Yeah.
Like I was their oldest. So they had nobody to compare me to until my little sister was born 4 years later. And my little sister was medically complex. She had multiple surgeries as a baby. So,
Oh,
really kind of an apples and oranges thing. So, and then my next sister came along 7 years later after that. So, I just think that our parents in that generation, they just didn't know. The information just wasn't as available. The research wasn't as available as it is today. So in this world, as people are talking about autism being on the rise, it's not on the rise. We've always been here. We've always existed. The simple fact is that it's genetic, that we pass it along. So there is some evolutionary force that has kept this diagnosis in our gene pool,
mhm.
because I don't know. I'm not a believer that there are external causes of autism. There are definitely external things that I feel like make our symptoms and our traits worse
Yeah.
and more challenging to manage and more challenging to deal with. But I don't believe external factors are what make us
Yeah.
autistic. I
They're not
think
the
that
cause.
my genes, my genetic code is what makes me autistic.
Yeah, I'm sick of going on Facebook and then I see, oh, scientists have found a root cause, and then you read the comment section because you're curious, and the general census is
It's
like
terrifying.
diet and environment and lack of parenting and all these stupid, silly excuses, and I'm just like, honestly, it's just genetic. There is no
It's
cause.
because my parent had it, and one of their parents was autistic, and one of their parents was
Yeah,
autistic. We just didn't have a label for it. They just didn't know.
yeah, yeah. That's it. So this has been amazing. Thank you. Um,
Yes.
Amanda, how can people find you?
Sure. So I am on Instagram a lot. You can find me on Instagram at Amanda Sells Mississippi, all spelled out. In my feed, I do share a lot of real estate stuff, but I also share a whole lot of my personality in my story. So my story is really where you want to be. Just like come for Amanda and just ignore the real estate stuff if that's not what you're there for. But I do share a whole lot of my personality there. I'm a whole person with, my own interests and my own personality and my own quirks. And I actually also have a YouTube channel where people can go and find me. I am at actually.amanda on YouTube. I haven't shared a lot of things there recently because, there's really not a because my brain wants to do things and my body doesn't want to do things. And I find myself at an incongruent
Yeah.
place quite often. So I have to really be in like the right flow and the right, whatever to be able to make content. But I have shared a lot there about my work, about some of my other like health challenges and struggles, about my diagnosis. I take some quizzes on video over there. So yeah.
Yeah. Please go and give Amanda a little follow because she is an amazing content creator and we all love to support each other. So yes, thank you.
Yes.
Thank you so much for your time, Amanda. It's been absolutely wonderful spending a little time chatting with you and getting to know you even more. So yeah, thank you for being here.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.
Yeah. So if you are interested in having an interview with me for my 5 questions with another autistic, please write a comment down below, or you can email me at zebra_mj@gmail.com. I'm going to put that on the screen because I can't remember off the top of my head what that is. So thank you for watching this episode and have a good day. Bye.
Bye.